here and welcome to my channel. Today what I am doing is a video on how to get your eyeshadow to look like a pro did it. So there's lots of little tips and tricks that a person can use to just help them get the best eyeshadow application that they can. So I'm going to give you some ideas and let's get started. First thing is you want a good eyeshadow base. So there's lots out on the market nowadays. It usually says eyeshadow base, eyeshadow primer. There's also like the MAC soft ochre paint pots. So paint pots, anything that's long lasting that can go down. It's usually a cream form and you want to put it down. I like using one that has a little bit of color because it cancels out any veins. So yeah, you want to start with a good eyeshadow primer, lots in the high-end department, lots in the drugstore affordable end as well. So that's the number one. Number two is you want to get yourself a good range of eyeshadows or a few shades. You can get away with about 3-4 shades. But you want to make sure that they're good quality. My favorite brand, honestly, is Too Faced. I love Too Faced shadows. I just think they blend really well. They're easy to work with. But there's lots of affordable brands as well, like for instance, NYX. They're excellent. Another one that is really actually quite great is Wet n Wild. And Milani actually has some really nice shadows as well. So those are great brands from the drugstore. High-end, really lots of different options. Too Faced happens to be my favorite. Kat Von D is excellent. There's Makeup Forever, fantastic. There's MAC, I don't know why I'm having such a hard time with my words, but anyway, there's lots to choose from. But what you want to look for is a pigmented shadow that's easy to blend. So that's number 2 on the list. Number 3 is you want some really excellent tools. So you can get away with using less brushes than I have, but I just wanted to talk to you about a few options that I think are really helpful to get a really good look or like polished look. You want a few different crease brushes. So I have 4 that I use, and these are the 4 that I use primarily all the time. This one's my big fluffy crease brush, and that's going to deposit your first transition color. And then usually I use it to deposit my second one. So I go in with a transition shade and then one shade darker, and that just kind of begins to give you a gradient effect. Then I go in with this one in the deepest part of the crease, just because it happens to be about the right size for me and my crease, because I kind of have a hooded lid, so I don't have a lot of room in there. So I use this little guy here. These ones are densely packed and don't move around quite as much. This one, however, it's packed fairly, well, no, it's less dense. The bristles are a little longer and it's way more flexible. So this I use to blend all the shadows out, and I usually keep this clean and just use it to kind of diffuse the shadows. This little guy I would use to do my lower lash line. So having 4 fluffy brushes, if you can, is great. If not, you can certainly get away with doing everything with just 2 as well. The next type of brush that you need to get is a C brush. And you can get different ones. This one's a little wider. This is actually a concealer brush, whereas this is an actual eyeshadow brush. Both of these are from e.l.f. So you can pick them up at Superstore for like $4. This one's a little denser. That's what they look like on the, they're just really flat and then wider. And then they have that C shape, which is why they're called a C brush. So this is used to pack shadow on, and I'll show you how to do that in a few minutes. The next brush that's handy to have is a pencil brush, and this is just nice for doing little detail work, like depositing dark color here. You can also use this under the lower lash line if you don't have a teeny weeny crease brush. You can use something like this. Those are the tools. Now let's get started on the eyeshadow technique. So I'm going to start by putting on my eyeshadow primer. Like I said before, I'm using the MAC Soft Ochre Paint Pot. And you just want to evenly distribute the product all over your lid. So nothing major there. I like to use a brush, but then I usually just kind of thin it out with my hand like that. So it's just really thin. The nice thing about using one that's colored like this is that it cancels out all the lines and veins, so your color is just a true color on top. The other thing is that you want to go underneath your lash line, lower lash line, because if you're putting shadow there, it's nice to have something for the shadow to stick on down there as well. To start your eyeshadow look off, you're going to use your crease brush. So this one is from Walmart. And you're going to go in with a shadow that's 1 or 2 shades darker than your own skin tone. So you don't want to go super dark. That's kind of harder for me at times because I'm pretty light. But I'm going to use this one in this, there's these 3 shades here, and then there's one over here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to focus on using one, like this light one, and then this one here, which is a little bit darker, and then I'm going to go over here and use a little bit darker of one. So the idea when you're building a crease is that you're graduating your dark shade down into the crease so that it gives depth. So it's just it's essentially just a painting technique. You start light, and as you go darker, it gives the idea of the eye going in deeper, which adds drama. So we're going to start with this shade right here, which is the kind of the lightest crease color that I have. And I'm going to place that just kind of where the brow bone is. And you're using a fairly light hand to do this. You want to go in lighter, and you can always add. It's harder to take away, so you want to start light. Okay, so I've put my first layer on. Now sometimes what's nice is to do kind of a fan shape. So if I put this to my nose and arch it, I want to keep the highest point kind of where the highest point in my eyebrow is. That's the highest point that I'm going to go with my shadow today. And then you bring it down. You want to kind of make this shade go all the way to the deepest part of the crease. Now the key is windshield wiper motions like this, or circular motions. I'm going to go to the next darkest shade. So I'm going to use this shade here, and I'm going to use the exact same brush. Now the key is to just go a little bit lower. And I'm not going to go quite as far over with this one. And again, once you get the shadow on, it's just a matter of going back and forth, back and forth. And that really creates a seamless blend. You actually blend way more. Like when you watch YouTube videos, you're blending way more than what you see on the video. Now I'm going to go in with the smaller crease brush, and I'm going to go into this shade right here, which is the darkest of my transition shades, or my crease shades. So I'm going to take this one, the lowest, so it's basically right in that eye socket, right in here. And I'm going to just, and again, I'm using the lightest hand. And going back and forth in windshield wiper motions. That's a real key to this. Now, once I've got all the shadows placed on like that, so I've got 3 colors going on, you can actually see the variation of color. I just want to really make sure that that's as diffused as I want it to be. So I'll use a clean, fluffy brush. And I start at the top, and I work my way down, and see how this brush really, like it'll bend and you get lots of fanning there. That just creates, it'll just diffuse the shadow even more. You have to be careful with this because I can lose this shade right into all the rest if I'm not careful. So when I get to the darkest shade, I might not move the brush around as much, but I might just kind of wiggle it, and that just kind of make sure it gets diffused, but that I don't lose the color. Now, because I'm keeping this look simple today, I'm going to now pack on the shadow, and I'm going to use this light color. So usually for your lid color, unless you're going for a smokier look, you're going to use the lightest color of shadow or the pop of color on your lid. So today it's going to look basically like this is looking right now. I'm going to go into this cream colored shade, and I drag my brush across it, and I pack the shadow on. See, there's a lot of product on that side, nothing on this side. And then I take that shadow and I just press it on my eyelid. just like that. And I'm not dragging this, I'm not fluffing it around, I'm just pressing it on. And the reason why you do that is you get the most solid color payoff when you do that. The other reason to go with a higher quality shadow is you don't need to use as much, so it goes a lot faster. And they blend way easier, so you're not having to go back and forth near as much when you use a higher quality shadow. So now I've got the top essentially done. If you want, you could do your brow bone highlight. Now I'm going to use kind of, it's like a C brush, but it's a little more fluffy. I'm going to go into that same cream color and I'm just going to go above my eyebrow. And that again gives definition to the eyebrow. You could use your C brush for this as well. On the lower lash line, essentially what you're going to be doing is following the same pattern that you followed in the crease. You can use 1 or 2 colors, you could use all 3 colors. Sometimes I'll start with a light color in here and then go a little deeper here, like I'll do kind of a gradient effect across the lower lash line. So you can do all sorts of things. Today I'm just going to go in with this lightest crease shade that I used. It would be called a transition color. And I'm going to do that just under the lower lash line. Now I always shut my eye because I don't like the powder going into my eye. Like I find it floofs up. Floof is the word of the day, I guess. But anyway, I go like this just along the lower lash line. I do to the chubby part of my, like, you know, here's my eyeball and it goes down to about there. So I usually do all the way down to there. Now to tie the lower lash line into the top, I'm going to use the darkest shade that I used today. And I'm just going to place that under here, just slightly, and then bring it up to the top part. I'm going to go in with the blend again, just where I put that cream color shade. I'm just going to kind of blend these two together really lightly. Over here I saw that it wasn't quite blended as nicely as I wanted. So then again, using that big fluffy brush, give it a bit of a blend until it's looking the way I want it to. Now that I've got my eyeshadow on, I want to do an inner corner highlight. Because I've got such a light color going on the lid today, I'm going to use this pencil first to lay down, and then I'll go in with a little bit of that cream color, but it'll just make it look brighter. I don't know what the deal is with that, but it just kind of polishes off the look somehow. And I'm going to use just that same little brush, clean it off, go into that lightest color, and just put it where that white part is. It just softens it a bit, but gives it more, it's definitely the lightest part of this look. And so this is the finished look with the lashes on. Now, if you wanted to go more dramatic, again, you would use this pencil brush. You'd go into a deeper shade. So sometimes I'll wait until I get my lashes on to see how much more dramatic I want to go. And I would either use the same dark shade that I use or go even a little bit darker. So I'm going to take this shade. I'm just going to apply it right in that very, like, and I'm not moving the brush around, just setting it on, wiggling that color in, and then extending it out a little bit. So you just kind of go like that, and then I would take that same color and just do on the lower lash line again, just like that. And again, once I get the shadow on, then I would take this fluffy brush and I would just set it on and just diffuse that color slightly. And that just adds a bit of drama, and then that's it. So again, the key to getting a look that's polished, that looks professionally done, is good eyeshadows, starting with an eyeshadow base, having a few tools, and then really taking your time blending. That's it. So if you have any questions, please feel free to leave them in the comments. Please feel free to like, share, and subscribe this video. I really appreciate it, especially if you like and subscribe and share. I like it if you do all three. Yes, yes I do. So anyway, have an amazing week, and we'll talk to you soon.